Alright, this is gonna be my review of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 1 and 2. This was a show that I was not really looking forward to. I thought it was honestly gonna be pretty bad, but I was pleasantly surprised. The show is really fun, it's really vibrant, there's some good characters, the action is really fluid and dynamic. I thought the voice acting was pretty good, and overall I had a really good time with it. I do think some people are overhyping it so far, like I think it was good but not great. But let's go ahead and talk about episode 1, then episode 2, and I'll give you guys my rating out of 10. So episode 1 was called Amazing Fantasy, and it's all about Peter essentially just getting his powers, which is really similar to the way Miles Morales did in the Spider-Verse movies with a spider from a different universe. Which I thought was interesting, but at the same time I was like, we've kind of done this already, like I wonder where this story is going to go. We got to see Doctor Strange, which was really cool, and I thought the fight scene with the symbiote monster thing and Doctor Strange was really well done. I really like the supporting cast with Peter and his friends and all of the other classmates. I thought the chemistry was there, and all of the relationships were really interesting. He's got a crush. We've got the football star in Lonnie Lincoln. And then Peter's new friend Nico. I just gotta say, the supporting cast is really, really good. And I was surprised about some of the maturity in this script. I believe someone calls his suit like a dumbass costume or whatever, and I was like, wait, what? I thought this was a kid Spider-Man show, but then they're saying stuff like that, so yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the maturity. It felt like an MCU project and not like a little kid's animated Spider-Man show. So yeah, I thought episode 1 was pretty good. It introduced us to this whole new world and the supporting characters and this new version of Peter Parker. I thought the pacing was pretty good and the script, but I'm just not a fan of this animation. I know it's meant to look like old school comic books, but to me, I don't know. I don't like it. Some of the character designs, like Aunt May, wasn't a big fan of that. The way the mouths move in some scenes is really, really awkward. And now let's talk about episode 2. Now, episode 2 is basically Peter. There's a bit of a time jump. He's now Spider-Man. He's got this like homemade costume on right here. And he's been invited to work at Oscorp by Norman Osborn. And it was cool to see him go to Oscorp. We never got to see that in the MCU with Tom Holland, so it was a nice change up. We got to see variants of like Dr. Connors. We got to see Amadeus Cho, who becomes the totally awesome Hulk in the comics. And then right at the end of episode 2, Norman finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and it leaves us on a cliffhanger for episode 3. And I really, really liked this episode. I thought the pacing was really good, the characters were interesting. The action, now that Peter is actually Spider-Man, I thought was phenomenal. And the web swinging scenes, holy smokes, this blows anything that the MCU Spider-Man has done out of the water, web swinging wise. Like, it was just so fluid, so dynamic, it was faster, it just looked way better. And I really hope they fix that for Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, because, you know, when I think about the Tobey movies and the Andrew movies, the web swinging scenes are definitely some of the highlights. But in the MCU, they just do not look very good. They're not memorable. They look really awkward. And I really hope they change it up and make it look something like it did in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I thought episode 2 was actually pretty funny as well, especially when Spider-Man confronts Butane, the Heat villain, where he was like, I'm burning down this building on 52nd Street, and then Spider-Man's just like, wait, this is 51st Street. Little jokes like that, you know, to me was good, and then there was some moments of him being, you know, this responsible hero where, you know, someone is stealing from a variety store, and then he kind of realizes, you know, like they made a bad decision, but they're not a bad person. So there was some good scenes in this episode, and I liked it more than I liked the first one. And I think it sets up a really interesting episode 3 where Peter and Norman are basically going to work together, and he's probably going to get his new white suit that we've seen in all of the trailers and promotional images, and I just can't wait to see Norman working with Spider-Man, kind of like how he did recently in the comics as well. So guys, I think Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is off to a really solid start. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I do think some people are overhyping this show as of right now. But in my opinion, I would say the premiere is pretty solid. I think it's off to a really great start. And for the first 2 episodes, I'm going to give it a combined score of 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a really solid Spider-Man story so far. But my biggest negative with this thing has to be one, the animation, and two, that it's basically just like a reskin of the MCU Spider-Man as of right now. Now, some of you guys might know this show was originally supposed to be the origin story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but then they changed it up and you can really tell. There is a lot of scenes in the first two episodes that are ripped right from the MCU Spider-Man story, but then they change it up, add a couple things to make it look different, and to me, I think it was just too similar. Even some of the shots, like Peter entering his apartment where Aunt May is pretty much the exact same scene as in, I believe it was Captain America Civil War, where he meets Tony Stark in the apartment. And as of right now, that's just something that kind of bugs me because it just feels like a show that had this original intent, but then they changed it at the last minute to make it like its own thing. I'm curious to see if all of these heavy connections to the Tom Holland Spider-Man story are going to continue throughout the entire series, or if those connections were mainly just in the premiere. Because we do know that they're going to revisit the whole Civil War fight scene with Giant Man and Captain America and everyone, so I'm just really hoping this show is something completely different and isn't just like a reskin of Tom Holland's story. But yeah, those are basically the two major negatives that I have with this show so far. It's just the animation and it just being a reskin of Tom Holland's story as of right now. I do think it's off to a really good start, and I can't wait to watch episode 3 because, like I said, the cliffhanger at the end of episode 2 sets up something really interesting. Well, let me know what you guys thought about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man down below in the comments.